Zion Williamson is one of the most prolific high school athletes in recent memory, mostly due to the insane athletic ability he displayed on the court at such irregular frequency. As we are a week away from the 2023-2024 NBA regular season, I'm beyond excited to see what a fully healthy, in-shape Zion Williamson will do throughout the course of the year. To remind ourselves of what Zion's truly capable of, let's take a trip back to the year 2018 and take a look at Zion's most disrespectful plays of his short but dynamic college career at Duke University. But I have to warn you because some of these plays will absolutely shock you. As sensational of a high school player Zion was, there were still plenty of doubters that he was anything but a one-dimensional dunker. But in Zion's first ever collegiate game, they played number 2 in the nation, Kentucky, led by Keldon Johnson, Tyler Hero, and PJ Washington. In a jaw-dropping 35-point victory, Zion showed immediately he belonged with the cream of the crop in the college game, finishing with 28 points, 7 boards, and shooting 11 for 13 from the field, giving us our first 2 plays in our top 15. In his second career game at Duke, Zion followed it up with maybe his most all-around impressive game from a statistical standpoint. Other than the opponent not being nearly as impressive, an unranked Army, Zion put up 27 points, 16 boards, 4 assists, and had 6 blocks. Here's each of those blocks in that game, and we're counting all of these as number 13 in our list. And again, in just his third ever game as a Duke Blue Devil versus Eastern Michigan, another blowout victory gave us some of Zion's best plays of his career, including this violent tomahawk slam and this perfectly executed alley-oop from Cam Reddish. It still amazes me that someone who's bigger than an NFL defensive end at 6'7", 285 pounds can move like that. College Zion was a sight to see, and it's why I'm praying we get a fully healthy Zion this year in the NBA. The Blue Devils then entered the Maui Invitational. In the opening round, they would roll over San Diego State, including number 10 on our list, a breakaway windmill slam dunk. At this point, it seemed like Zion was on SportsCenter's top 10 every single week, and Duke quickly rose to being the number 1 team in the country, largely due to their 3-star freshmen, Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish. They would then beat number 8 Auburn by 7 points in the Maui semis before losing in a potential preview of a national title game versus 3rd-ranked Gonzaga led by Rui Hachimura and Brandon Clark. These weren't some of Zion's best games, but just 6 days later, at home versus the Indiana Hoosiers, he would bounce back with multiple highlight reels that, for the sake of the list, we are going to count as one performance at number 9. Zion finished this game versus the Hoosiers with 25 points, 6 boards, and 4 assists. Duke would go on to win their next 9 games straight, and during that streak of games, the number 8 play on our list comes in versus Princeton. Just an absolutely ridiculous block where Zion's elbow hits the backboard. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like it. Yeah, he gets bumped a little bit by his teammate that gives him an extra boost, but it's absolutely ridiculous how high this man can jump. The Blue Devils' winning streak would come to an end in a heartbreaking overtime game versus Syracuse, losing 95-91. But as usual, Zion put up a super impressive performance in this game, having 35 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocks, all the while playing 44 of the possible 45 minutes. But they'd pick off right where they left off in their next game versus 4th-ranked Virginia. At home, in a marvelous game, they would win 72-70. Zion had a sick and 1 dunk in this game, and the finish that he had through this massive contact here is why he's such a special player. Duke would go on their 2nd long winning streak of the season, winning the next 9 straight. Included within this win streak are numbers 6, 5, and 4 on our list. Starting with number 6, Zion makes his way across the lane to pin the ball against the backboard before it can get laid in by a Notre Dame defender. Then he goes block hunting again versus St. John's, swatting this ball into the Cameron Indoor crowd. And at number 4, my favorite block of them all, in a huge game for the ACC, at number 3 ranked Virginia, he takes off from forever away at DeAndre Hunter while shooting a corner 3. I have zero clue how he got to this ball. This honestly maybe should have been number 1 on this list. It's so impressive. Watch it in slow motion and just see how much ground he covers in such a short amount of time. And before we get to our top 3, I want to show you just a couple plays that are favorites of mine that couldn't make the list because simply they didn't occur within a college game. These first 2 are blocks, and I feel so bad for these private school South Carolina high schoolers. It's the old Twitter meme. They probably just completed completed a really hard algebra test and now had to go play Zion on a random Tuesday night. Neither of these kids stood a chance. I don't even know why they took the shot. All I'm trying to say is thank God I didn't grow up in Spartanburg County, South Carolina, or I probably would have found myself on a Ball is Life thumbnail as well. The last two honorable mentions are both dunks, one from high school in game, a between the legs 360 that somehow doesn't go in, but this is the honorable mention list. The rules don't apply. I don't know how this ball didn't go in, but it's still a sick dunk. And then in practice at Duke, Zion jumps from the free throw line. I said this earlier in the video, but it's one thing for guys like Michael Jordan and Zach LaVine to do this. It's a whole nother thing for a guy to do this at 280 pounds. And with those honorable mentions out of the way, we are down to our top three most disrespectful plays of Zion Williamson's college career. For number 3 on our list, we have to go back in time to the middle of the year during Duke's first win streak, and it's in a game against Clemson. Zion gets the steal at half court and completes a 360 dunk in game. If you look up top plays of Zion's career, this is always number 1, but on my list, it's not, and I'll tell you why. I love this play, and as cool as a 360 dunk in game is, there are 2 plays that I think occurred in bigger moments and are more impressive as a whole. Our top 2 plays both took place during the postseason, so before we get to those, let's first finish the story of Duke's regular season. After going 23-2 in its first 25 games, Duke would go 3-3 down the stretch, losing twice to UNC and once to Vatech, limping their way into the ACC tournament. The reason, you ask? Zion got injured. In Duke's 26th game of the season, at home versus 8th-ranked North Carolina, Zion's shoe exploded literally on the first play of the game. I know this has happened a couple times before in modern basketball history, but it still amazes me every time I watch this. Like, seriously, how did he rip his own shoe? And in the process, he sprains his knee. Duke proceeds to get blown out at home by North Carolina 88-72, and Zion is out the rest of the regular season with this knee sprain. Thankfully, Zion would return just in time for the ACC tournament, and honestly, some of Zion's best games in a Duke uniform came in this ACC tourney. Versus Syracuse in the quarterfinals, Zion would finish with 29 and 14, shooting 100% from the field, and he did have some cool plays in this tournament, but they're not number 2 on our list. Duke advances, winning 84-72. In a rematch in the ACC semis versus North Carolina, a team that beat them without Zion twice in the regular season, Zion finishes with 31 and 11. He does have a sick breakaway dunk in this game. Our number 2 play takes place at the very end of this game. Duke is down 73-72 with about 35 seconds left when Zion decides to take on 4 defenders, will his way to the rim, jump over multiple defenders for the offensive rebound, and get the putback. Look at how they have 4 players in the paint, and Zion doesn't even think about kicking it out. He is determined to take care of business of himself, and he hits the game winner. This play might not be as exciting as a 360 dunk, but if you love basketball, you love the nuance that it takes to execute this play. He reads where his own missed shot is going and puts himself in position to immediately go right back up and lay it in. It's something most players wouldn't think about or be quick enough to do after a missed shot. And with that bucket, Duke is able to exact revenge with a fully healthy Zion over North Carolina and advance to the ACC championship, where they would defeat Florida State rather handily. Check out this sweet assist in this game from Zion, by the way, which leads us to our number 1 play. Of course, you all know this at this point. It takes place in March Madness. I want to add a quick disclaimer. I would love to show more clips of Zion in the NCAA tournament, but the NCAA is awful when it comes to false copyright strikes. I've dealt with it before on my channel and won. And so in order to just keep it as simple as possible, I chose my favorite play from the tournament, which I also believe is the most impressive and impactful play of Zion's collegiate career. Duke received the number 1 overall seed in the 2019 NCAA tournament. Simply put, they had the best player in the country and expectations were clear. It was time for Duke to bring yet again another national championship home to Durham, led by 3 one-and-done freshmen. In the first round, they'd take care of 16 seed NDSU by a score of 85-62, with Zion finishing with 25 points on 12-16 shooting. They advanced to the second round in a matchup versus 9-seeded UCF, which is where our number 1 play on this list takes place. In case you don't remember, Central Florida had a player by the name of Taco Fall, a center who stood at 7 foot 6 inches tall. And although it looked like Duke would first roll in this game, going into halftime leading 44-36. UCF would come storming back, largely on the shoulders of guard Aubrey Dawkins, and with 2:09 left on the clock, UCF took a 74-70 lead. Cam Reddish would then hit one of the biggest threes of his career, putting Duke within 1 point at 74-73. After a pair of BJ Taylor free throws, UCF was up 76-73 with only about 45 seconds to go in the game. Zion then takes a kind of ill-advised three that rattles in and out, but Duke's Javin DeLaurier gets the offensive rebound, securing them one final shot to tie the game. Zion then gets the ball on the wing with about 18 seconds left when he decides he's going to attack. He spins off his first defender back to the rim and goes head on with 7'6" Taco Fall, finishing over him and getting the and one call. I remember watching this game live 4 years ago, cheering vehemently against Duke because in March, I love upsets, and I was so mad they called that foul on Taco in the moment. It was absolutely borderline to say the least, but what an incredible finish Zion has over such a huge defender in such a crucial spot. In a weird March-like twist of events, Zion misses the free throw, and because Taco Fall fouled out on that last foul call, RJ Barrett gets the offensive rebound, lays it in, leading Duke to the Sweet 16. I know this is going to be controversial to some. I put this at number 1, but if we're talking about the magnitude of the moment, Duke's offense was stagnant. Zion decided to do something about it, and that incredible finish over someone as lengthy as Taco is utterly impressive in my book. Even though he misses the free throw, it's still enough to put it at number 1. Plus, let's be honest, it allowed me to tell a more compelling story knowing that you were progressing through the season as the list went on. Zion's final stat line for that second round game was 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. The Blue Devils would then defeat fellow ACC foe Virginia Tech in the Sweet 16, coming back from a 4-point deficit. I'd love to show this game to you too because Zion had some cool plays in it, but you can thank the NCAA for that. And then in the Elite Eight, Duke would lose in a upset to number 2 seeded Michigan State, 68-67. It was a pretty disappointing finish for a team of such high expectations, but that's part of March, and that's part of having teams with one and done players on them. As we all know, Zion would go on to get drafted first overall by the New Orleans Pelicans, with Murray State sophomore Ja Morant going right behind him at number 2. And like I said earlier, as great as Zion has looked on the floor when he has been healthy during his first 4 NBA seasons, he's had such a hard time staying healthy, including missing all of the 2021-2022 regular season due to a lingering foot injury. At the time I am now recording this, we're about a week away from the 2023-2024 NBA season, and Zion is looking better than ever. I really do hope and pray that this season is his first he can fully play without any serious injuries. The sky is still the limit for Zion. What do you guys think? Am I just gassing Zion up? Has this whole video just been Zion Williamson propaganda? Is he someone who can be a top 5 player in today's NBA? Or is he just a one-dimensional athletic dunker who will never be able to stay on the floor for a full 82 games? If you enjoyed this video, you'll enjoy the video I did on Ja Morant's most disrespectful games in college. Somehow, Ja's highlights are arguably more impressive than Zion's. You can find that right here. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the hardwood.